TOA Fit Body Bootcamp and Fit Body Forever communities. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Robert Linkul, trainingtheolderadult.com. I want to talk to you today about a article/video that was sent to me by my buddy Corey. Corey, thank you for sending this. This is awesome, by the way. A really cool new philosophy. This was reported by the BBC, and this is somewhere in Wales, I believe. That might be wrong, but somewhere in Wales, and you'll see the name of the facility. It's the Worcester Sports and Exercise Science Department. When I looked that up, I couldn't find an actual address on the website. But this is a strategy, a new philosophy on helping people more or less. There's a term in the mixed martial arts world called body hardening, which means if you're in a sport where your body has to be contacted, being punched, kicked, etc., you can use medicine balls or other human beings to punch you, to kick you, to hit you, and that will harden your body against those number of impacts. When I played football, we would first start off our season and you would start contacting people and your forearms would get all bruised up, and by the end of the season, you really didn't feel those anymore. Your forearms had kind of been hardened to the idea. And so that's what this kind of philosophy is geared over towards body hardening strategies for older populations, in teaching them, assisting them in not only how to fall, but hardening their body to fall when they hit the ground. Now, this is something that I don't want to put this out and then have people go, oh, I'm going to go out and start falling down and practicing. That's not what this is about by any means. What this could become is a practice strategy. Because I've been asked before, what's the best technique for teaching people how to not fall down? And I said it would be to push them or encourage them to trip and then to practice not falling down. But if we did that, we'd hurt people, right? So Dustin Jones, a fellow colleague of ours that works in this field as well, has this rig that he puts on people that hangs from the ceiling, and he puts them on a board with ball bearings under it, and he pulls the floor out from underneath them, and then they have to practice. And I'm like, that's the closest thing I've seen to simulating, you're gonna fall, you're gonna have to react, but if they do fall down, the rig catches them. So in this case, and notice when you watch this, the mats that they're falling on are not terribly thick, right? If this were day one, if these were brand new people, now these folks have been doing this for a while, but if these were brand new folks, I would want them to be on big, cushy, contacted pads that when you hit, they kind of deflate. So they're crash pads, more or less. These are very thin, tumbling mats / stretching mats. They're not terribly thick. So when you watch this and you kind of see the strategies they're going through here, also keep in mind, these are somewhat experienced individuals, and they'll show you how they're kind of teaching them and progressing them in 4 different falling techniques: falling forward, falling to your side, to your other side, and then back onto your butt. Okay, and they've got a JuJutsu and Judo instructor who comes in and works with these older folks and teaches them how to fall. And so you'll see this interview with him as we progress into this. Here we go.
Falling. Over and over again. Not your normal gym routine, but it's one that will build these pensioners' muscle memory for when they have a trip or slip in real life. Every week, these gym members spend 5 to 10 minutes practicing 4 different falls. For 70-year-old Shan, it's all about avoiding a fracture or broken bone.
Literally just over 2 years ago, I tripped whilst I was out walking and actually broke my collarbone, and very, very painful.
Has this made a difference?
Absolutely, yeah. Whereas before I'd have tripped and just gone bang and fallen flat on my face, now I've been able to restore myself through that core strength that I believe I've got now.
My motivation came from a family member who had a fall, broke his hip and went into a care home afterwards. My hope is the fact that it gets rolled out on a much larger basis, and I hope the NHS will benefit from this, because the cost whether it's the ambulance service or the cost of hip replacements or people who break collarbones, etc., etc. It's astronomical.
So there we go. So I'm looking up the University of Worcester. I want to see where this is located at. Let's see here. Yeah, this in the UK. So that's what I thought. I think specifically in Wales, but or United Kingdom. As I'm learning, these are all we kind of in America we just kind of lump it all together, which is not accurate. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. Pretty interesting stuff, in my opinion. Like I look at that and I see a couple of different things. Like the gal Shan, they're showing her rolling back onto her butt and kind of rolling down onto her back. Now, if I took one of my clients and I did that with them, there's a potential on their third or fourth attempt that they could end up hurting themselves just practicing that fall, right? Because the mats look, to me, they look really thin and non-absorbent. But I understand that, like, that's the point, okay? That's the point, is that you want to get to the point where you can practice falling, because you're not going to fall onto a mat in real life, you know? We don't have someone running around with crash pads to throw them underneath us when we start to stumble down. So I get it. I understand the progress. I would love to see, and that's what I was looking up on their website. They've got a thing that shows, oh, here's the class, but then that's it. There's no other information. There's no research. There's no progressions or regressions. Like, I would love to see more on this because I'm intrigued by it. I'm definitely intrigued by it. I would love to see, like, did they start with 6-inch crash pads and practice that for 2 weeks, and then go to 4-inch crash pads, and then 2-inch tumbling mats, and then down to this 1-inch, stretching mat, tumbling mat. Because I get it that you're wanting that impact back on your body. That's the thing that's going to harden you against that. Notice they're in a fitness center, and resistance training could not have come up more on that website, as I was going through it. So I was thrilled to see that. Like, okay, they're lifting. They're definitely lifting. And I think this is such a cool component. Now, that first part of the video, when they're going from their hands to their elbows, I'm watching that going, oh man, like, that's jarring impact. Some are on their knees, and then others are on their toes in a push-up, and then they drop down onto their elbows. That would be jarring and impactful for me at 43 years old, let alone for 20-year-olds that are doing that, onto a pad like that. That's very jarring for the body. I could definitely see inexperienced individuals practicing that, tearing a rotator cuff, or breaking something in their shoulder. So that's where I put out, like, heavy warning to people, not telling you to go out and do this. This is just something that has now popped up on radar, and I'm intrigued by it. I do see how this could be of pretty great value, okay? As we said earlier, this is, being led by the university. And so there is research behind it. I don't think they would endorse something or even implement something like this if there wasn't research behind it. That's what I would love to see. They talk about 1 in 3 older adults over 65 will have at least one fall every year. And then they kind of go into further information on each one of these, discussing the individuals that are coming in, their average ages, what their biggest concerns are. We worry a lot about falling. Here's Mark Scriven, is the director of strength and conditioning, and has transferred his training in martial arts to techniques for older gym members. So Mark is the one that's kind of leading this here. Said the sessions are about preparing older people's bodies for the eventuality of falls, to the extent it became almost muscle memory. There's an interesting comment there. If my wife were sitting here, she'd start laughing as soon as I said that, because muscle memory is not real. Muscle memory is not a thing. Muscle memory is a term that we use because people can't remember the name proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, which it totally makes sense in terms of, it's simply put, it's neuromuscular facilitation, right? It's neuromuscular facilitation. Your brain is sending a signal in a particular order of events to make movement occur. And so in my brain right now, my brain is going, move your arms up and down, move your arms in and out. But that's all happening super, super, super quick. So is there like a little chip that my brain pulls out and then puts into the dashboard, and it's like, move the arm up, and it does this order of sequences that moves my arm up, and you're like, there, now it's downloaded into the memory chipboard. Now, anytime we need to move your arm up, we have that muscle memory piece. No, there isn't such a thing. Muscles don't remember anything. Muscles are super dumb. They have no memory recall whatsoever. So I understand it's a saying, but what we're actually saying is that your brain is remembering the pattern in which that movement should occur. And so you're like, well, yeah, of course. Here's the thing. As you get older, right, and you don't practice those skills over and over and over and over again, your memory will go, here's the order of taking a step forward. Those steps are A, B, C, D, E, okay? As we get older and we don't practice them, the order becomes A, C, D, E, C, right? Or A, C, D, B, A, D, B, B, C. It starts mixing up all kinds of stuff. It starts repeating certain movements. And now when it goes to take a step, it doesn't take a long enough step, a straight enough step, a wide enough step, a narrow enough step. That's how people fall down, because they're not practicing A, B, C, D, E. It's not this repetitive, ordered, symmetrical movement pattern. Simply put, I don't put my arm over my head every day, my shoulder will freeze. I will lose the ability to do that. If I'm not practicing skill set every day, I will lose that ability. Use it or lose it. We've heard that saying before. And that is real, okay? So as we age, if we don't practice taking bigger steps and moving heavier loads and having weight on one side of our body and not on the other when we carry our groceries, or manipulating objects from the floor to my chest to overhead and put them away, if I don't practice those things all the time, I'm going to lose my ability to do that. And then when a situation occurs, I'm walking and I step on my own shoelace, or I catch my toe on a curb, and all of a sudden I've got to throw my foot out in front of me, and I need to throw that foot out in front of me 3 feet ahead so I can stop my momentum and stop my fall. Number one, I'm too slow because I'm not a dynamic person anymore. I do slow shuffling movements. I throw my foot out 2 feet instead of 3. 3 would have stopped it and I would have been fine. But 2, basically, as I step quickly, it throws momentum forward, but not far enough with this bracing force that it stops me. So I've braced short. So what does that do? It actually creates more momentum as I tip over the top. Well, then I take another 2-foot step, although I needed 3. So now in a distance where I was supposed to cover and create 6 foot of bracing, I've only made 4, but I've accelerated into that position as well. So instead of taking one big step that stops me, I've gone shorter step, and now I've accelerated, shorter step, and fall, right? I've accelerated my fall. As opposed to just saying, I'm falling and just timbering down to the ground slowly, that probably would have been better. And that's actually what they teach to people in clinic that have had strokes, to such a level that they go, look, you're not going to be able to rescue your falls, so let us teach you how to kind of melt before you fall. And I had a client that did this. She would repetitively, multiple times during our training together, as we were walking around the gym, I would just look back and she'd be on the ground. Wouldn't hear a thing. She'd just be on the ground. And I go, Joan, what happened? And she goes, oh, I thought I was going to fall, so I just went down. And she would just kind of like melt, just in slow motion, just kind of melt down to the ground. And she got really good at it. And I said, so you thought you were going to fall? And she goes, yeah, if I try to rescue a fall and I don't make it, I'm going to hit the ground really hard. So if I think I'm falling, I just go down. I just get down there as quick as I can, as smooth as I can. And I go, okay. And she goes, that's why I fall like 5 or 6 times a week. And I went, oh my goodness. I mean, you're falling hundreds of times a year. And she's like, yeah, that's why this is such a problem. So we trained together, and the following year, she fell 3 times in the entire year, which I was super happy about. Still trains today, trained with me for a long time, still trains today with John down in our Folsom location. So the purpose and the reason I'm ranting about this is muscle memory is not a real thing. Your muscles don't know how to do anything. They only know how to receive the signal. What the muscles do is they maintain the binding sites for that signal to be received. And how strongly those binding sites can react is how strongly we contract our musculature. So the muscles are super important. Think of it as like a crane. There's a guy in a box pulling all the switches and the levers. He's the person making the decisions when that arm and all, but the crane and the pulley and the gaskets and all that shit, that's the stuff that's moving the arm, right? So those are your muscles. But the person in the box, that's your brain, that's the one moving all the levers, making all the things happen. That's how this happens. That's what we need to keep sharp to make sure we're not going to have these catastrophic falls. But if we do fall, which is what Mark is saying here, it's inevitable. Like, you're going to fall at some point as you get older. And no matter how dynamic a person that I work with, and I am working with people who are, in my opinion, the top 1% of their population. Like, we've built their abilities and their strengths, and we've built up their capabilities as an older individual that I would say, compared to the rest of the people in at least the US that I have seen that are of their same age, they are in the top 10%, if not the top 1% in their abilities. My client Joyce, who's 80, she goes out and has a group of buddies that she went to like high school with, I think. And there are 8 of them, and I think a few have passed away, but there's at least 5 or 6 of them still. And when they get together, her son-in-law also works out with us. He's like, it's a drastic difference between her and everyone else. She stands up taller, she walks more efficiently, she can carry more, she's sharper, she, like all the others, none of them resistance trained, none of them are active. And so Joyce sticks out because of all of that. And so, again, I don't have stats to be like, she's in the top 1%. When I look at something like that, I'm like, she's in the upper echelon for sure, the top 10% of her population in ability. And that's what we want. But even then, she still had a fall this year and broke her back and has recovered well to the point where she's pretty damn capable now. So as Mark's saying, like, people are going to fall. And obviously we don't want to. We want to do everything we can for them not to fall, but people fall. We know this is a rising issue. Here's Catherine Coben, who also works there. She's the chief nursing officer. So now we're partnering with medical, which is awesome. Okay, we think this is brilliant. That's nice to hear that the hospital on the medical side is endorsing this, because most would look at that and go, oh, this someone's going to get hurt. They're going to get, like I was saying earlier, right? But they must have seen the progressions and the orders in which they're doing this, and they go, hey, this is good. I also know that in countries outside the US, people don't sue for everything. So in this case, like, I see this and I go, lawsuit, because I'm a defensive American, and that's how everything is done here in America, is anytime anything bad happens anywhere, there's a lawsuit. And so everyone's on this defensive mind. Like, you would not see a program like this be endorsed by one of our medical programs here in the US. There's no way. The risk for them is way too high, because if someone tumbles in there in a falling class and gets hurt, oh my goodness, oh, the sky would be falling. That person would sue, the hospital would be closed, like it would be a mess. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I love to see that medical side of things are endorsing this. We know when you got into hospital, your muscles decline. We know when you got into hospital, your muscles decline. It leaves you at further risk of deteriorating physically. All right, I just had to make sure I was reading that right. Like, that didn't come through my brain. That didn't sound right. Also weird how everywhere says, I must go to hospital. In the US, we throw in the for some reason, I don't know. But I have to go to hospital. So, all right, we do know when you get older, and if you end up in the hospital, we're declining there. Here's Shan South, 70. And she's one of the leaders in the group. 2 years ago, she tripped on a walk and broke her collarbone. Big impact, throwing the arms on the ground. Very common. One of my clients just told me yesterday, she was up on a Tahoe trip, fell down. She has fallen there before. She has broken bones before. This has been an issue for her in the past. Had this fall, slowed her fall by getting her leg out in front of her, but also put her hands down and braced on an impact coming down. Hurt her hands and her wrist a little bit as far as, hitting the ground with them, but didn't break anything. So she was very happy about that and was happy to report, hey, I think a lot of what we do is preparing me for this. And again, we're just resistance trained, but we're also like, we do pop push-ups and we do things that are dynamic and explosive and that are assisting in this. We do eccentrics and dynamic concentrics, and we're doing everything we can to assist in something like this. But are we actually having people tumble onto the ground like that? No. Before taking part in the Falls workshop, all gym members have their core strength assessed to check their training that is not too strenuous. For 75-year-old Wendy Melton, who has osteoporosis, it's a welcome offer of support. Because my bones are already less dense, I'm more likely to do myself an injury if I do fall. Meaning that if this is a preemptive effort to try to prepare her for the case that she does, but knowing that she has osteoporosis, she's got to do something to really help prepare for this. Okay, so she thinks it's brilliant to have a chance to try and to do all this, which again, I'm thinking this, and that's the end of the article there. I'm thinking this is a pretty unique way to think about this, to pursue this. I would love to see the guidelines. I would love to see the progressions. I would love to see more on it, but I think they're onto something here that has been, at least in the beginning, kind of a joke of like, yeah, we need to practice pushing people over and having them not fall. And then if they do fall, they are then dense enough to survive the fall. Like that body hardening component to this is actually being put into practice, but it's being done in a way that's safe. And so they put them on like a foam roller, it looks like, and they kind of fall off, 4 inches onto their side. Again, those are femoral head impacts that they're taking on the side of their hip. Granted, it's only 4 inches, but it's onto a fairly hard surface. But again, they have to harden the joint, harden the bones to that impact. So if you do that appropriately and you don't overload it, ideally those bones and those musculatures in those areas will recover and get more dense. So if that continues to happen, it's just like calluses on your hands. If you keep lifting, right, you are going to grow calluses. You can see mine there, right? Even with me maintaining them, taking care of them, filing them, etc., they're still there. Every other day I have weights in my hand. Well, every day I have weights in my hands, but every other day I'm lifting and I'm training hard, and my body recognizes if you're going to be holding on to stuff like this and gripping and pulling and pushing and doing all that, your hands are going to get roughed up. So we need more skin, and your body adapts. Same thing here. If you continue to take these impacts and get tossed and get tossed and get tossed, then we're going to have to just put more bone into this area to accommodate you, because this could be a problem if we don't. But that's kind of the point. So I think they're onto something. I like it. If anybody out there knows more about this, please point it in my direction. Tag me in a comment below or drop the link in there, because I want to learn more about it, and I'm really interested to see how this is being practiced and implemented. If they do bone scan tests with them before and let them train for a year and then do it again, like something like that could be really dynamic, and go, look where these joints are getting, more dense. The scores are at least maintaining, if not improving a little bit, would be groundbreaking. So anyhow, I'm excited to see where this goes. If anybody has more information about it, please let me know. And if anybody happens to know that guy Mark, I would love to chat with him. So point me in the right direction. I appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, share. Remember to ring the bell. Make sure you don't miss anything. We put out at least one awesome video every week. Of course, we try to do more, but at least one every week. And yeah, if you have any comments or questions, hit me up down below. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia, and we will see you next time. Take care.